Greetings, Rajee Narinesingh here, transgender activist, author, and actress, currently on season 3 of Botched on the E! Network. So I have to tell you all, I belong to an absolutely phenomenal church. Yes, I do. The Center for Spiritual Living Fort Lauderdale has truly been a wonderful journey of spiritual evolution for me. It really has been. I mean, I've been a member for the last 8 or 9 years, and I can say that I've evolved spiritually leaps and bounds. I first want to give a shout out to Dr. Arlene Bump and Dr. Chris Michaels, our two dynamic ministers. On any given Sunday, you can attend and you will most definitely get a compelling and deep message to apply to your life. Oh, Mark, trust me. So I'll tell you a little bit about our church. The church was founded in the early 20th century, and it was founded by Dr. Ernest Holmes. He's the author of a number of books, most notably the Science of Mind book. Now, through Dr. Holmes' studies and travels, he found that there was a common connection with all of the world's great religions and philosophies. In our literature, you will see that we proclaim to be a loving and diverse spiritual community, that is dedicated to personal growth, healing, and service. Well, I can tell you that I've certainly seen that in the church because, it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to live it. Yeah, now, I come from a very diverse background. My mother is Christian and goes to Christian church, and my father was Hindu, and he practiced the religion of Hinduism. Grew up in a neighborhood with quite a number of Jewish families. Actually, the synagogue was like a half a block away from my house. In my early 20s, I joined the Buddhist religion and I practiced Buddhism for a few years. Not to mention all of the wonderful writings of people who I call spiritual gurus like Deepak Chopra and Louise Hay and Marianne Williamson and Gary Zukav. I mean, and the list goes on and on. But I really feel like the Center for Spiritual Living churches, I have to say, I feel like it's the PhD of spirituality. Because since I started attending, everything just seemed to resonate and really connect for me. Now, there we've studied universal law. The laws of the universe, like, for instance, the law of attraction, the law of giving and receiving, and how to apply and use those laws, yes, maneuver with the laws, to create the life that you desire. I'm a work in progress, but I certainly have come a very long way. Now, I got to tell you the funny story of how I started attending the church. I live in Hollywood, Florida now, but I used to live in Wilton Manors, Florida, which is, I would say, about 20-30 minutes away from each other, depending on traffic. So I lived in Wilton Manors about 6 years, and I would pass this church all the time, not really paying attention to it. I see the church. And one day I was passing, and I saw on the church billboard that the Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, who I consider another great spiritual guru, was coming to the church. And the Reverend Beckwith is very spiritually based, and to me, very evolved. I mean, he's really good. He has some great videos on YouTube that you can check out. But I said, oh, wow, he's coming to that church. I wonder what type of church that is. So I was talking with my good friend a few days later, Bernard Jackson. Oh my gosh, I really believe that him and I are soulmates when it comes to spiritual evolution, spirituality. I mean, we truly have held each other's hand, for lack of a better phrase, in both of our evolution and when it comes to spirituality. So I was telling him about this church, and that I saw that the Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith was coming to speak, and he pauses and he says to me, "What's the name of that church?" So I tell him, and he says to me, Now, mind you, at the time, I didn't realize that he was attending the same type of church up in Philadelphia called the Center of Peace. I didn't know that. But he says to me, "Listen, I think you should go." And so right away, I'm like, "Really? I should go to church?" Because I'm starting to think, like, of all the negative experiences that unfortunately many of people like myself have experienced when it comes to uh, church communities. Okay, so anyway, he's like, "No, no, no, believe me, I really feel you should go." And Bernard is very intuitive, and I even believe that he has a little bit of the gift of prophecy. He tells me, "You go to that church," and he says, "I feel like you are going to end up taking classes, even not just attending on Sunday, but taking classes." And he says, the principles and the teachings that you learn, you are definitely going to need in a few years for what is about to happen to you." And I'm like, "Okay." Now, mind you, this was a few years before the whole thing about my story of my botched cosmetic injections went global and really catapulted me into the world media. So, Bernard, you definitely have a gift. So anyway, I told him, "Okay, look, I'll think about it." So a few Sundays went by, and I kept thinking about what he said, and I decided to go one Sunday. I woke up, I dialed myself up, and I went. Okay, I pull into the parking lot, and there were so many cars parked there. I started to almost have a panic attack because the old thinking of how oftentimes the church communities can be to LGBT people. And I just was like, "Oh my God, I can't go into this church." Like, they're going to literally, like, slaughter me, a trans woman walking into their church. All right, I'm sitting in my car and I'm going back and forth, back and forth. Should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? Should I not go? I look up at the sky and I say out loud, "God, give me a sign. Is it okay for me to go into this church?" Literally, soon as I finished the sentence, a car pulls up next to me, and two guys get out. And when I tell you, they were switching more than I switch. I looked up at the sky, I smiled, and I said, "God, thank you. I got my answer. I'm going in." And that was the beginning of just a great spiritual journey for me. Truly. I oftentimes, when I talk about my life and the journey of my life, I talk about, the wonderful medical treatment that I've been blessed to receive. And I talk about the wonderful psychiatric treatment that I receive and the wonderful therapist that I've connected with. And just, all of the wonderful blessings that have manifested in my life. I truly believe that it's because I connected with the Center for Spiritual Living Church. And the principles and teachings that I have gotten from the church is the foundation, the core, to all of the wonderful blessings that I am now receiving in my life. Like I said, I'm a work in progress. I don't go to church every Sunday, but I have the principles and the lessons with me. And whether I'm here at home in the bathroom, I'm driving a car. I'm on an airplane. I'm out in California. I am always practicing. I'd like to recommend this church to everyone. Everyone. Yes, you heard me. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what religion you practice. I know that you will be able to get something out of this church and the teachings of the church to apply to your life and to even evolve more spiritually. Check us out. It's CSLFTLauderdale.org. I am proud to say that I belong to the Center of Spiritual Living Church. Love, peace, and blessings.